Good evening and welcome to the Municipality of South Dundas annual regular meeting for Monday, November 13th with his council team and staff and guests. Welcome. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. Have a motion, let it resolve that the November 13th council county meeting of the Municipality of South Dundas be opened at 6 p.m. Moved by Councillor Vino, seconded by Councillor Ward. All in favor? Carried. Under 2, confirmation of agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or amendments? I will make an amendment to delete 12A on our closed session agenda. 12A will delete. Any other additions or deletions, amendments? Seeing none, let it be resolved that the Council of the Municipality of South Dundas approve the agenda as amended. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Deputy Mayor St. Pierre. All in favor? Carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Seeing none, move to item 4, adoption of minutes. I have a motion that I resolve that the minutes of the following meetings, including closed sessions, be adopted as presented. The meeting of October 30th, 2023. Moved by Councillor Ward, seconded by Deputy Mayor St. Pierre. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we can move into item 5A, W.J. McIntosh delegation tonight. With us we have Crystal Whitford and Sydney Flagg. Thank you very much for joining us.
So basically we came to introduce ourselves. I think most people know the J.W. McIntosh as just Meals on Wheels, but we offer much, much more. We need the municipality's support in securing funding for these programs. All of our programs are funded either partially or fully, and we do a lot of fundraising. Go to Tim Hortons in Morrisburg. Half their donations coming to us right now. So I supervise, actually I don't supervise anymore. I manage all of the health programs that we offer. We're just going to touch on them quickly because we don't have a lot of time and I could talk for hours. So I oversee the assisted living for high-risk seniors in Morrisburg, Iroquois, and we also have a program out in Kemptville as well. I have 2 supervisors that run those. Oh dear. All right. We have a respite program. Sees clients in the community in both North and South Dundas. We have a respite apartment right at Park Drive Villa. I know that, Mayor, you came out to the villa. I don't know if you actually saw the respite apartment or just an apartment that we had renovated, but we do have a 2-bedroom there as well for respite. You did? Perfect. We have a supportive housing program geographically located right at the villa as well. It's the same services as our assisted living. We have a going home program. It's a 10-day package for when people come home from hospital that are over 65. They get free Meals on Wheels. They get free respite visits, homemaking to get them settled and prevent readmissions. And that's it for me.
I'm Sydney Flagg, and I'm manager of our CSS programs. So homemaking, we go out to the home, 2-hour visits bi-weekly. Diners Club would be in Williamsburg. We have that monthly. We do a drive-through diners as well. Foot care is every second Monday at the center, $25. We have a chiropodist there, and she provides that service. Meals on Wheels. You guys, I'm sure, are very familiar with our Meals on Wheels program. We also provide transportation to anyone over the age of 65 or on Ontario Disability Support Program for medical appointments. We have an adult day program at the center, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for frail, elderly, anyone with cognitive disabilities. Social rec programs, those change all the time, arts and crafts or euchre, things like that. And then Crystal and I do a caregiver support program. Not as often as we would like, but there will be one coming up in the spring.
So our health services programs are all PSWs that go into the homes. So they assist seniors, convalescents, and adults with disabilities. They promote independence. So when we go in, a lot of people think we're taking their independence away and we want to put them in a nursing home. That's not what we're there for. I did my time in long-term care and I don't want to send anybody there. We're trying to prevent premature admissions to long-term care. We are assisting family and friends with their caregiving roles, giving them a break, that respite. If it's 2 hours or if it's 12, that caregiver can go out and get that break. We also provide housing. So we have Park Drive Villa that has 38 units. We have Tolly Place that's on Hess Street and behind us. We have 20 units there.
We also have
the 2 group homes. We own the 2 group homes on Shell Street and County Road 18. We also have those. So these are fully funded. So these programs are fully funded. We don't rely on subsidies or client copays. Assisted living is fully funded through the LHIN, Ontario Health, whatever you want to call them now. Our supportive housing program as well, and the Going Home program is fully funded through Care4. Oh, I'm still talking. Okay. Respite is partially funded through the LHIN. We do have a copay of $11 an hour, up to 15 hours a week for our clients. Respite apartment is $75 a day, everything included. So that's your PSW round the clock if needed, if we can staff it. It includes all your meals. They can come down to adult day during those days if they need to. They can stay up to 14 days at a time. I believe it's 90 days a year in total. The rest is you.
Our homemaking program is contracted through Care4, and we charge the clients $10 an hour, and the rest is funded. Diners Club is $10 a meal. Our foot care is $25. Our transportation is 50 cents a kilometer. We also charge or bill ODSP directly for that, so the clients don't have to go through the hassle of that. And then our adult day program is $25 a day, includes a meal, which is a main, soup, and a dessert. And then the transportation to and from the program is within that $25. That's the presentation. Is there any questions?
It's very quick because we were told 15 minutes and I've never talked for 15 minutes or less in my life.
That's excellent. So, absolutely. And for myself, so obviously, I was able to spend some time with Matt and the staff and yourselves earlier in the spring, and obviously did participate in one of the days of the Meals on Wheels. So, have some familiarity, but certainly wanted to make sure that the council team had an opportunity to hear from you and ask some questions. We did, just for jog everybody's memory, we did through our grants program, we had funded some transportation costs through WJ McIntosh for 2023. So my question you kind of led off with, and I'll just ask the first question. Your first question was you're looking for funding. So what type of funding, what are you looking to fund, and what's your request?
So I'm currently in the process of doing another grant for our paid driver. Mm-hmm. We don't get funding through anywhere for our paid driver. We rely on our donations and fundraising for that. At this point, she's doing quite a few rides with our wheelchair accessible van, and we just don't have the funding to cover that, unfortunately. Currently, she's doing the medical trips as well as transporting clients to and from our day program, as well as Dundas County Hospice's day program. So There is a big need in the community for her, or for the paid driver, so that's coming.
Yeah, excellent. So follow-up question on that. So I know some of your programs are both North and South Dundas. On the transportation side, are they typically South Dundas residents?
Yes.
Okay, very good, very good. I'll open it up to the team for Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. Just on that same topic then, if you're not being fully funded for or getting fully donations for your transportation services, what does that mean? Is that coming out of pocket from the driver, or?
So our transportation program is funded,
Yeah.
a little bit of it, but that's for our volunteers transporting clients for medical appointments. We have asked to have funding for our paid driver, but at this time it hasn't gone through. So we're relying on fundraising and donations just for the paid driver.
So then if the funding's not there, then the service isn't there. It's not coming out of pocket on your drivers or anything like that. Okay. Just on your other programs then, are you getting sufficient funding for your programs and your residents on everything else, or is there a shortfall on that as well?
We have a few programs that we're over budget on. Meals on Wheels is one of them. We've almost hit our budget for the year for Meals on Wheels, and we're only halfway through the year. Our fiscal year is
Really?
April to the end of March. So that's why most of our fundraising efforts are for Meals on Wheels. We have thought about waitlisting, but because it's it's a high need, and how do you say no to a meal, right? So that's.
Okay, thank you.
Just to follow up on the Deputy Mayor's question, why do you think that that's over budget this year? Is it because there's more people requesting, or is it the cost of actually doing the work that has, just out of curiosity?
It's a combination of both.
Both? Okay.
South Dundas, well, we do serve North Dundas as well, not for Meals on Wheels, but I find that South Dundas has a very high senior rate, elderly rate. So as we go on in years, that rate just continues to go up. And I mean, a simple meal is keeping people home, right? So
Yeah.
either, both, I would say.
And our funding is based on previous, so if we're up in numbers, then it doesn't really accommodate for that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much for coming tonight, and thank you
you.
for your presentation.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Do you guys want pamphlets? Thank you.
Okay, as we transition into our next delegation, growth management strategy, so phase one, and we have our SDG County's Director of Planning, Peter Young, with us tonight. Welcome, Mr. Young.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and Council. So I'm going to go through the population and employment projections, the draft ones for SGG-wide, and I focus a bit on South Dundas. A lot of numbers in the presentation, so I'll just kind of give a high-level overview, but Council wants to look back later. There's lots of numbers in these charts, and we do have a full report as well. So whenever the county or the upper tier is doing planning, one of the jobs the province gives to us is to do population projections and allocate by municipality, so where everyone's going to grow, how much, based on demographics, jobs, housing growth, historical growth. And then each municipality has that in their official plan and uses that to plan where their towns and cities will grow. Right now in 2016, the last time the official plan was done, South Dundas was posed for moderate growth, 0.2% annually, about 500 people over 20 years. But since then, and then employment was proposed for a decline actually. Again, this was based on the 2011 census. A lot of the trends at the time, manufacturing leaving Ontario and in Canada in general. But in fact, a lot has changed since then. So we have a new official plan that was finally approved last year. There's 10 years more of census data. Instead of 20 years, we're looking at 25 plus years of growth. Ontario and SCG are both growing faster than previously thought. Lots of immigration, lots of work from home, new housing demand, and the employment loss slowed down as well. So as we're updating the official plan, the next step is to do this study and revisit our projections. So you can see on the bottom is the current forecast, kind of proposed to slow down and stabilize and actually start to decline. But now with everything that's been happening in the last 10 years and especially the last 5 years, you can see that the growth is projected to be much stronger in SDNG and Eastern Ontario in general. So now proposed that SDG-wide would grow to about 85,000 in the middle scenario. We had the same thing happen with employment when these were done before. Again, there's a lot of decline in manufacturing. There's people, companies leaving Canada, and things have thankfully turned around in general. And from this decline, it's now proposed to slowly go up in our area. And especially that includes people that are working from home as well, no fixed place of work, consulting, that type of job. So you can see just to look at the bottom one is probably the most important one, is you can see the population growth from 2011 to 2021 was about 0.1% per year in South Dundas, now projected to go about 0.5% per year. So although they're not the same numbers you'd see in the GTA or Ottawa, there's still a good change and very positive kind of growth, and that's what you're starting to see, those new employment and subdivision developers come to this area. You can see this is relative with the rest of SDNG, so it's more or less in line with North Glengarry. It was about the same size municipality. Some of the larger growing ones are South Stormont, and usually because they are right close to the city of Cornwall, North Dundas close to the city of Ottawa. Whereas the municipalities are a little bit further away from the urban centers, don't grow quite as fast. Housing growth as well. The units per year, South Dundas projected to be relatively the same and kind of in line with the other two lower population municipalities in SCNG. Again, they're all around the same. We're talking about 10,000, 11,000, 12,000, so it's not a huge difference. But again, those municipalities that are closer to the cities do grow faster because there's those extra opportunities there for commuting. Commercial as well, posed for growth in both Morrisburg and Iroquois. You can see right now the graph on the left shows that after Alexandria, Morrisburg is kind of the center of commercial development within the counties. And again, it's partly from being further away from the cities, and there's a good advantage to that, is that you have a stronger commercial base here than let's say Long Sault and Ingleside, which are closer to Cornwall. So that again is proposed to continue to grow, and we've seen site plans for commercial development, especially in Iroquois, quite a lot of new development hopefully coming through. So why we're doing this, partly the reason is that the province requires to look at land supply. So how much land is designated for growth in all of our communities. And you can see that if you ever see the boundaries, they can be quite large, include hundreds and hundreds of acres. So actually, it's not saying, we're talking about that 25-year supply. Actually, in some of our communities, we have over 100 years of supply just because the boundaries are drawn all the way around every possibility. Some of them are a bit more constrained, but in South Dundas in particular, we're not looking at too many constraints because there is a lot of land in any direction. And you can also see by municipality, again, the focus of growth is probably going to be in Iroquois and Morrisburg. That's where there's the most service capacity. Also Williamsburg with sewer as well. But and rural severances. But again, most of the growth, and that's meets historical patterns as well, is in those two larger communities. So one question that we get a lot too is, well, if you add up all our proposals, we have lots of different proposals, and that's in every municipality as well. It probably would be higher than these numbers. But again, they're looking at historical growth patterns, what's the employment base, what type of building have we seen in the past, and even if there are, let's say, 300 units proposed, that could actually be spread out over a 10-year build-out or even longer in some cases. So again, we are very excited to see some of the larger subdivisions coming forward, but just to recognize that in our model and the work that consultants are done, they won't just add up every proposal together. They're going to also look at what are the demographics, and hopefully they'll be beyond those projections. I think it's very positive that it's stronger housing, employment, population growth that can be updated. One of the challenges also within SDNG is just the aging population overall, and not necessarily being replaced with the same amount of people. So there can be additional housing growth, but not necessarily the same in population. So the housing can actually grow faster. So, give you a quick summary, and what's the next steps is that we're waiting for the provincial planning statement to be finalized by the province. That will give us a lot more flexibility in where to grow. We've already had proposals from developers that are just on the outside of the communities that have land that's available for housing, for employment growth, and that would like to be included in the boundary. However, until this policy statement is finalized, there's already more than enough land within those communities. So ideally this will go through and these type of lands can be added. If not, council will have a decision. We'll need to take out some other lands in order to accommodate lands that might be better or closer to services. So if you look at the overall, let's say, Mooresburg goes, several kilometers to the west, but there's no services, no water and sewer there yet. So it may require to move some of the land at that end closer to where water and sewer is on the north side of number 2, for example. But hopefully this policy will go through. All signs that we've heard is that it will go through and allow that flexibility. So council could add some more lands that have developers ready to go and ready to submit proposals. So the next steps, again, depending on when that provincial regulation or policy is finalized, we'll come back to council and go to the public with official plan amendments for those new growth areas. We've already had detailed submissions from several developers, and those type of ones would likely be included in that, pending the provincial policy change. And again, it's not just for the larger villages. We're also looking at the rural hamlet boundaries and the number of severance limits per property. Right now, you can have up to 2 severances for a lot that existed in 2006, and some of the municipalities is actually 1980, so older than everyone in our department. So there's a whole new generation of people that want to create lots, and people that have said, well, I severed 2 in 1981. Why can't I create 1 more lot? So that'll be looked at as well. So there's opportunities not just for the larger communities, but also people in the country that want to build a home out there as well. And that's the presentation. Any questions, Mr. Mayor?
Information, glad to see trending upwards, especially for us in South Dundas and for the counties SDNG. And super important as we continue to have talks and people approach us about the lands and the growth study and meeting all those approvals. So super excited for super developments and super things to materialize as the approvals come forward. Any questions or comments? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Peter, for that presentation. Just a quick question on your housing growth. Is there a density per hectare rate that's applied?
Yes, I'd have to pull it up, but there's basically looking at some of the average growth in the community and applying that for the land. But yeah, there's I could send that to you later, but
yeah, no, that's
basically there's a units per hectare that's applied, and then they say, okay, you have, let's say, 100 hectares of land, and you're going to have 2 units per hectare, so you have a 50-year supply of growth. Just to
And then,
simplify it.
and then is like multi-res included in that, like apartments or semis or
Yeah,
towns?
they
And
have
is
like
there
a split based on the
Yeah.
demographics.
Yep,
So I think right in here, they subdivide it by primarily low density.
Okay,
but,
gotcha.
The percentage of high density actually might be more helpful if I just send a copy of the study
Sure.
To council, just to see some of those more detailed figures if you're interested, because it has those breakdowns by community and by density and
so it is broken down by community, but is the same density rate applied through all SD and G? Or is it specific to,
I believe
if,
it's
for
the
instance,
same,
to your point of North Dundas and South Stormont or South Glengarry being closer to kind of the urban areas, does their growth per hectare kind of go up versus what we would see here?
I believe in some cases it's adjusted, like I was just looking at Lancaster, they
Yeah,
have like a
yeah.
certain rate, 12 units
Okay.
per hectare, but the report's a couple hundred pages long, so I'll.
No, I'm just more curious about it more than anything, Peter. I didn't really look for, yeah, if you want to send me the high-level report on that, that'd be great.
Yeah,
but,
no, it's in here somewhere, but I will give you that.
I was just more
figure as well.
curious than anything.
Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
perfect, thank you.
Councilor Reno.
The deputy mayor's question, but on the commercial side, so it looks as though South Dundas is poised for some significant growth in the commercial side. I'm just curious, does the plan, and I guess if we get the plan, I'd be able to see this, does it dive into what different types of commercial growth that they're referring to, or is it just very generalized? 'Cause
Sorry.
I'm just curious, as it relates to like the population growth or the housing growth is quite small compared to the commercial growth. So like you would expect that the employment, like they would need employees for whatever these commercial businesses would be. I'm just curious to see if it dives into what types of commercial businesses they're talking about.
So it's more like a high-level kind of sector, so no fixed place of work, commercial, retail, primary sector, manufacturing, kind of office, but not into particular like a grocery store versus, so it's more of a high level based on employment types and sectors, yeah.
Okay.
And typically, a municipality might look at doing a more detailed retail study if they want to look at the specific needs for, let's say, grocery or clothing, that type of thing. But this is more high level for employment sectors.
Okay.
But it is broken down for the municipality, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
One final question, Mr. Young. Do you ever take a look at, for specifically for our case, what Edwardsburg Cardinal's growth study looks like as our neighboring municipality to us?
Yeah, so Leeds and Grenville would do that. So the municipalities would, it would be done at the county level, and it's usually it's the same consultants that are almost
Okay.
doing, like this is the same one that's done by Cornwall. There's kind of 2 or 3 that are done by Hempson, but I don't think there's anyone that says, well, if we added all these up, is it going to add up to more than the province is projecting? Each study, though, is relying on the same base data, so it would depend probably if it was the same consultants, Watson or Hempson are the 2 that do most of the reports, so I don't think they look at that in detail, but they do look at overall commuting data, so
Right.
what's the flow of commuters that are coming to South Dundas or from Montreal and for Ottawa, and that's kind of factored in. So I don't think it's projections themselves, but the overall growth and where people are coming from, that's factored into that approach.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you for your presentation tonight. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Young. Okay, so moving into agenda item 66A, PE 2023-07, Backyard Hens Pilot Project. Mr. Young will stay with us for this.
So this has come up came up through the previous council to do a pilot project on having backyard chickens, specifically hens, not roosters. It came up both from residents that were interested and also from bylaw violations, and people that have come to council and were interested in having chickens on their smaller properties. So at that time, what we had looked at was having a pilot project, potentially on undersized agricultural rural lots, which is fairly common. Usually there might be a cap of, let's say, 5 or 10, depending on the property. Some municipalities also allow it within the rural settlement areas. But when there's the more denser urban, quote-unquote, settlement areas, the Northbridge and Iroquois, sometimes just because there's people that are all kind of close together, then you know, in Haynesville or something, it might Winchester Springs area that might work, but not necessarily in the denser communities where you have multi-residential development. So at the time, we looked at doing the rural settlement areas and the undersized ag and rural lots, having a few regulations on setbacks. This was deferred twice due to concerns around avian flu, and I can tell you that some other municipalities like City of Toronto, which was kind of one of the leaders in the urban hens, ended up withdrawing from canceling the program altogether because of current concerns around disease, and especially getting veterinarians and dealing with transmission, especially in a denser setting. But if council wishes us to proceed, we could do a survey. We kind of have a draft that we had before that could go out to the community and see if their feelings are in line with what the original proposal was, and then go back to council with a final report. Or if council does not think this is something, again, there would be additional resources in the bylaw department and complaints that come in, because when I've done this before, doing the pilot project and doing the consultation, the results came back 50-50. 50% thought it was the greatest thing that can help our people have eggs at home and have pets and have you know, really sustainable addition to the community, and 50% of people wanted nothing to do with it and wanted them not in the subdivisions, not on the rural lots. So, and that was in South Stormont, and that's I've heard in other municipalities as well. So it can be a controversial issue depending on your point of view, and there's definitely a lot of people that support it, but just something to consider as well. There's going to be people that don't want their neighbor to have a backyard chicken.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Young. Questions? Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Mayor. So for you, Mayor Ruff, I guess to take this back, what if we didn't have a bylaw and we just let people do what they wanted to do, and then if they were abusing it, we enforced it through our property standards bylaw? Because I can tell you right now that there's a lot of rural settlement areas that already have livestock, and not just chickens, roosters, chickens, cattle, on less than this acreage. So I'm just concerned, like, what would we do with those individuals that are already doing that? Like, would they have to now comply, or how would we address that?
And I can, in general terms, and not necessarily what South Dundas has been doing, but in general terms, what most municipalities would do is just do it on a complaints basis, and if neighbors are okay with it and no issues have been raised, then you're not necessarily driving and looking in people's backyards to see if they have any hens. But ultimately, if there's complaints and this is what the bylaw says, then there's not really that flexibility or discretion. It's because it's enforced on a complaints basis. So that's kind of, I would say that's sort of the status quo is, so if council turns down this recommendation, then it would be more than likely enforced on a complaints basis, like most bylaws.
Okay. Thank you.
Other comments, questions? Councillor Smith.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of funny in a way, because whenever I saw this on the agenda, one thing that I've not had anybody mention anything to me about in the last year was whether we should or should not allow chickens in the backyard anywhere. So I do know out in the country, maybe not so much in the towns and villages, there already are lots scattered all through different areas, and I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I mean, if we want to go ahead and try it, I'm fine with it. It's fine with me.
Councillor Ward?
I think to Councillor Smith's point, from my perspective, like if I don't know what the bylaw statistics are on complaints from back here. Maybe staff can tell us that, or administration can tell us.
Clerk LeBrun?
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Broad. So we just did a quick search on our complaint system, and since 2019, there have been a total of 11 submitted complaints on chickens. 1 this year, 3 in 2022, 5 in 2021, 2 in 2020. So it's a little bit sporadic, but I wouldn't say it's overwhelming. We're not overwhelmed with complaints, but there have been some logged.
Deputy Mayor?
Through you, Mayor Brock, and I don't need to know addresses, but whereabouts? Like in the hamlets, in our villages, outside of our villages?
I would have to dive into them. Just give me a second. Yeah, I would have to do one at a time, but this one would be in a hamlet. Oops, I just logged myself out.
So, yeah.
Under
So
the pressure.
certainly, just
But yeah.
from my own memory, there certainly was one in the hamlet, but not necessarily all of them. Councillor Smith?
Thank you, Mayor Broad. And just curious, while you're looking that up, was it the same one 11 times?
No, I can definitely
Unique.
confirm
Yeah,
that.
of course. Good question, though, that when they
Yeah.
were unique complaints. Thank you. Councillor Vino?
Yeah, through you. So I guess my thing here is how are those complaints handled currently? Because I think I'm kind of leaning towards leaving it status quo because to echo Councillor Smith, this is not something that has once been raised to me since we campaigned and in the year that we've been doing this. And so I can't see it as being a real large issue. And if it is, I mean, it can always come back to the table. But with the information that I have right now, I kind of would lean towards however it's being handled now and leaving a status quo because to save opening a big can of worms potentially. So I think that's where I sit on this one.
Clerk LeBrun?
Yeah, I'm just pulling up the data to see if I can get a little bit more information. Just bear with me here. Okay, so I would say that's a rural location. This one, another one could be considered just outside a hamlet.
So we certainly have a mix of complaints, yes.
Is it
Yes.
the noise? Like, I just want to be very specific on what the complaint is, because I think that really makes a difference. If it's just and like to Councillor Vino's point, like what was the follow-up? Was it we got rid of the chickens? Was it we just told them they need to manage the chickens better? Was it a rodent issue? Like, I don't want to get too far into this because I'm on the same tune as Councillor Vino is if people don't know how to manage their animals, then they don't know how to manage animals. It doesn't matter if they have 1 acre or 5 acres. To me, livestock management is a skill that people either have or they don't have. So if we have a bylaw for just chickens, like, I mean, there are other animals, like, right? Like, I don't know, pigeons, ducks. Like, how specific are we going to get here?
Councillor Vino?
I just wanted to add to my point, I guess, of why I feel like we should just leave this one status quo. There's, as Mr. Young had said, there's going to be a monetary component to this for staff's time, and it will go against taxpayers to facilitate a pilot project like this. And if it's based on 11 instances over multiple years, I think, or what the stat was, I think it's not worth the money, I think, at this point. That's all.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, through you, Mayor Broad. I tend to agree with Councillor Dino and Councillor Ward. I think adopting a bylaw or a pilot project for something that does not seem to be really an issue, to me is, I don't think it's worth the time to do that. I think it could get a heck of a lot messier if we do adopt this. You know, my concerns are, you know, yes, we live in a hamlet. I'll just pick Mooresburg, or better yet, I'll pick Mariah Town where we live, Councillor. You know, on the south side of the street, I think they're all kind of quarter-acre lots on Lakeshore Drive, but on the north side, they're larger lots, right? So you're still essentially could be mixing, you know, urban with kind of a rural setting. Wow, I feel like I'm lost for words for once on this one. But, no, I just would rather keep it status quo. I personally have no appetite to get into any pilot projects where it's specific to your point, to a chicken or to a hen or to a duck or whatever it is. I just think we should just leave it status quo, and we'll deal with it on a case-by-case basis.
Okay? Very good. So, Councillor Ward?
Just to clarify, livestock is defined in property standards.
Yes, it is.
as an
Correct.
actual item. Okay, I just wanted to confirm for everyone
Correct.
listening that if they do have an issue, they can.
Yeah, we still have property standard acts and
Correct.
livestock.
Yep, yep. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'll have a motion and then we can vote on the motion. So the motion was that council directs staff to initiate a pilot project for potentially permitting backyard hens on smaller rural lots within the hamlets. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Deputy St. Pierre. So, or do you want,
Just a point of clarity, so
Yep.
how did the resolution
Yeah.
read, Mayor Broad?
it says that it was going to direct staff to initiate a project.
So
they're
I
gonna-
would just make an amendment to that resolution to not direct staff,
Okay, sure.
direct staff not to pursue it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
or defeat it, actually.
Or defeat it.
Yeah, defeat it.
Yeah, we can
I'm
defeat the
sorry.
motion.
We could
Yes,
just defeat
I
the motion.
realize.
Defeat the motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Just-
So all in favor of the motion?
So we're voting, so the motion is,
To direct staff to initiate.
okay.
So, okay, against?
You want the chick, okay.
One against? Okay. Okay, so it's defeated. Thank you very much. Thank you, Director of Planning, Mr. Young. Okay, 6B, PF 2023-19, Justice Building Washroom Renovation, Director of Parks, Recreation, and Facilities, Director David Jansen, and he is here to my right.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So in front of you tonight is a official report. So if you remember back to budget, we were going to start the process of doing a little bit of modernization on a Seaway era building here in Mooresburg. So that was over at the Justice Building. First step is to get the design work done. We had budgeted $10,000 in our capital program for that. I did receive 3 quotes, and unfortunately, it did come in a little bit over what we were budgeting. So I'm here tonight to seek council's approval to go a little bit over budget and still get the design work done on this project. So that way, we can continue to be ready to get that facility a little bit more modernized when the time comes. Whether it's we're waiting for an accessibility grant, whether we're waiting until we have the funding prepared, but at least then we're shovel ready and ready to go. Other than that, everything else is kind of outlined in the report, but I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Yeah, obviously with starting to lose tenants there, having an updated washroom may be key for us to future rentals on that. But questions or comments from Councillor Smith?
Yes, through you, Mayor Brown. So I had this question earlier today. So we just lost a major tenant, or a tenant out of that building, and so I thought that the tenant that we lost was a more significant lease payment than what it was. So I just wondered, because I was just thinking in my head, if we lose a significant tenant out of that building, should we still proceed with this renovation? So the question that I had was how, in the grand scheme of things, how much did we end up losing per year out of that?
Dr. Jansen?
So this is perfect, might even save me a report in the next council meeting. So as we all know, we did lose the provincial offenses course, which is sort of like traffic tickets and tickets like that. In there, currently, we have our own fire services on their own wing of the building. We have the OPP as a tenant. We have RSL has a small little part that they lease from us. The criminal court has a large portion that they rent from us. And it actually worked out the provincial offenses court actually shared a small room within the criminal court that they used once a month. I think when the lease came up, it's like $200 per use. We collect about $110,000 in revenue there every year. The provincial offenses course was 1 to 3% of that. So we're still collecting approximately $100,000 in revenue here. And I think long-term, I think the mayor hinted to it a little bit, if we do lose more tenants, this is a common space that we're looking to upgrade, so it makes it more attractive to prospective future commercial people. If we have an updated common space that everybody would be sharing, the commercial space is typically renovated by the commercial tenant anyway, so it sort of fits in well with the future use of the building there.
Cool. Councillor Ward?
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, I guess I want to start by asking this question. Do we have a facility reserve fund for each facility, or is it a generalized reserve fund?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, it's a general reserve fund.
General reserve. And how does that reserve fund get built? How much, like, do we contribute per building? Is there a calculation? Like, how do we determine what goes in that fund?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, that'll be part of our asset management plan for facilities and non-core infrastructures due July 2024. So council will look forward to seeing those numbers come through across your desk over the next couple months. And I think I think Mr. Nelson and I are on pace for about May-ish to hopefully have our entire asset management plan, so you'd start to see that come through. But to answer the question of how it's currently funded, it tends to be the overflow from capital projects that either we have a surplus on or we are saving towards. So that's sort of how that reserve gets funded currently.
Okay.
But there's not any active contributions.
And to that, Mayor, I just thought I'd bring up, so I was looking at this today and I know it's a small overture on a project that will benefit the community, so I'm not too concerned about it, but I was looking at how some of the other larger cities fund their facility reserves. It looks like they have a per square foot rate that they charge, and it actually funds their reserve for projects like this. Maybe something to consider in the future for these overtures. It seems to work in their circumstance, so it might work in ours, but if you already have a plan, then that's great. I just thought I'd mention it, and the city of Cornwall just redid theirs, so I thought that was an interesting, I just read their report today, so anyways, that was it. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. And just looking at the statements included in our package, transfer of reserve funds and facilities for the year was $444,000, just a total amount, not grouped in any way. So that's correct. Comments or questions? Okay, I have a motion that the council approve the additional funds of $4,679.90 towards the Justice Building washroom renovation project for a net cost $14,679.90. Moved by Councillor Vino, seconded by Councillor Ward. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Six C, PF 2023-20 Reserve Transfer, MWC Trees. Director Jansen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the second report in front of you guys is a little bit of a housekeeping one. The Morrisburg Waterfront Committee over the last couple of years has received donations and donations of trees, which has led to new trees being planted. It's been a great process, but we do receive cash donations at time, which sort of we've been keeping in reserve. That reserve creeped up, and it came time for the Morrisburg Waterfront to go plant some more trees. So this fall we finished a little bit around the loop, but in order for finance to process the transfer out of reserves, they need a motion from council. So it's a little bit of a housekeeping item there. The work's already been done, and we're just doing the reserve transfer so finance is able to keep the auditors happy.
Questions, comments? I have a motion that council approves the transfer of $3,700.16.52 from each of the Morrisburg waterfront reserves to fund the purchase of trees. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Vino. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, Director Jansen. Moving to 6D, CS 2023-09-2024 council meeting schedule. Clerk LeBrun.
Broad. Before you is a report talking about our upcoming council meetings for 2024. So it's hard to believe we have 2 regular meetings left in this year. So looking ahead at 2024, According to our procedural bylaw, it's council who reserve the right to set our meeting dates and make any alterations regarding time, place, and day that we hold our meetings. So currently, as you know, our meetings occur the second and fourth Monday of each month, with exceptions for on long weekends where sometimes we have to have a meeting on a Tuesday. And we have one meeting during July and August. So I've given kind of an overview of the process, the report process, when staff need their reports in, when council gets the agenda, and then when the public gets the agenda. So we have two, I guess, options for council to consider. The first option is to keep our Mondays on, our meetings on Monday nights, the second and fourth Monday of every month. So not much would change in terms of process if we were to keep the Monday meeting dates. The other option that we've presented to council tonight is our regular council meetings to be on Wednesdays. So there's a number of reasons why we're proposing, I guess, Wednesday nights. One, as you can see, the staff report due dates are a Thursday as opposed to a Tuesday. In terms of, I guess, for staff to get their mind around these reports, it's nicer to have a little bit more time in that week, kind of focus on getting your reports ready so that they're due on the Thursday. And then council would receive the agenda on the Friday. And have the weekend to review it, and then part of the week to ask questions of staff, or if there's any more information needed, we have a little bit more time in that week to kind of gather it, so that on Wednesdays, if we have the meeting on a Wednesday, then we come prepared. So these are the two options in front of you. We are obviously open to any of them. We'll be here regardless what you choose, but it's just something that we wanted to consider, maybe switching up the dates to Wednesday nights. And yeah, happy to answer any questions or if there's some discussion that needs to be had.
Click one. So I think for us tonight, if we want to, we could decide whether it's Monday or Wednesday, and that could be the motion. We go forward. What the exact calendar looks like, we can still go back and work at that calendar on the specific dates, whether there's a holiday, whether we have a conference at. I know as well, the staff would like us to put a weekday for budgeting next year and commit to that, to have a full day weekday in the calendar. And potentially we could also look at maybe a couple of committee of the whole meetings we could start to schedule in ahead of time so we can have our calendars for the year more set. But further discussions can have on that, and I'll open up to the team on what your preference may be on which night you'd like to have the council meeting on. Councilor Vino. Sure.
Yeah, so as far as me personally, my work schedule is non-existent. So whether it's Monday or Wednesday, it's still got to work around it. So that part's a non-issue. However, the Wednesday for me makes more sense, I think, for the way the most time I have to look at the agenda packages on weekends. So whenever we do get it, I tend to look at it through the weekend, and like Clerk LeBrun suggested there, there's not much time then. It's Monday during the day, basically, that I can ask any questions or get any clarification on anything. So for me, personally, it would be nicer if I could look it over on the weekend and then have a couple days to ask questions. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm easy both ways.
WR?
Mayor Broad, yeah, I'm flexible in terms of our days. I mean, Monday or Wednesday works for me. My fear is if it's on the Wednesday, you know where I'm going with this, if you're giving it to us on a Friday and something happens, then we're not receiving it until Monday. So the way it is now, at least you guys are preparing it on the Wednesday. It gives a day or so if something goes awry at your end to still get us the council agenda before the weekend. So that'd be my only fear, because I'd rather not get it on a Monday and only have 2 nights to read it. I'm like Councillor Bino, I kind of I open it up on the Thursday quickly just to kind of skim through it, but then, you know, kind of my Sunday mornings, Saturday, Sunday mornings are the days I like to read my agenda. But if something happens, we're not getting it on a Monday, and things happen, right? Or if there's a report we're still waiting for information on, you know, I just want to make sure we're getting it on the Friday if we're gonna go that direction. That's all.
I'll just make one comment. We would definitely have to still get the agenda by Friday. No question about it. So either we're allowing ourselves a little more flexibility at the back end of the Monday, Tuesday. We have to have it by Friday. I agree with you totally.
Yeah. So with that though,
Yeah.
I'm Wednesday's good. Yeah. Just a question for you, Tara. When we in 2 terms ago, did we not have what days were the meetings on? Was it not on a Wednesday? Did we not move them to Wednesday?
That was Tuesday. I thought it was Tuesday.
Tuesday? Okay. I couldn't remember if it was a Tuesday.
So I guess
or Wednesday.
over terms of council, they have been on different nights. It wasn't like South Dundas was always one night. Yeah, I'm just personally, I'm flexible either way. I'm just happy with whatever works best for the team is good by me. Councillor Smith?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Broad. So I believe the reason why on the last council it was on a Tuesday night and I got moved to a Monday night as a convenience for our local newspaper to meet print deadline. That was one of the reasons for having it on a Monday night. For me personally, my best night of the week to have it would be a Monday night. Because I'm like deputy mayor, like I'll get the agenda Thursday, Friday, whenever it is, just skim through it, and then usually Sunday afternoon, sometime on Sunday, is when I sit down and read the whole thing. I'll earmark an hour or two to go through and read the whole thing. And my fear is that if we push it till Wednesday, that anything that I had, it's going to be gone. If I can't get time to reread it again, that anything that I was thinking or anything that ideas that popped in my head are going to be lost by Wednesday. And that's my only fear. That's just for me personally, but that's so. But my second best night, scheduling wise, would be Wednesday. So.
Monday.
Councillor Ward?
I have no preference either way.
Councillor Vito?
I think we should stick with what we know and stick it on the Monday. We're all into that habit at this point, and it seems like it's kind of a wishy-washy non-issue, so why not leave it the way it is?
To the mayor and deputy mayor too, because county council is on Mondays. So you're squishing that in, and there's holiday Mondays. That's the only thing I thought of, but I'll let you two speak to that.
Deputy Mayor?
Through you, Mayor Broad, that's a fair point, because I know there's been a couple times where we've had back-to-back, and there's a lot to it when you've got a council meeting, a county council on Mondays, and then Monday nights is a regular council meeting. So, yeah, I don't mind Wednesdays, to be honest with you. I don't mind Wednesdays at all. Okay.
I would...
Wednesdays. Click.
No, it is certainly, it could be hard to have 100% consensus. We would want that. I'm okay with at least, 2024. I mean, it's 52 weeks, if it's not, doesn't work out, we can always switch again, right? The 2025 calendar would come out a year from now, so. Wednesday?
Hit the gavel. Let's go.
Okay, so I have a motion that council approve and accept the 24 meeting schedule for Wednesday meetings. Moved by Councillor Vino, seconded by Councillor Ward. All in favor? Against? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Clerk LeBrun, and thanks to the team for that. And definitely a little bit of a benefit for staff, but the clear expectation is we will have the agendas on Friday in our inbox going forward. into 2024. Okay, moving to bylaws, 7A, 2023-88, amend 2023 tax rate schedule. Treasurer Julie Stewart. Go ahead, Treasurer Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor Broad. In May 2023, Council passed a bylaw to adopt the 2023 tax rates. This schedule didn't include the new, the new multi-residential tax rate. And that was because we didn't have any property at the time in the municipality with that tax rate. Since then, we've received notice from MPACT that we have a property that has changed from commercial to new multi-residential. So that's the reason for tonight having the bylaw to amend the schedule to include the new multi-residential tax rate. Any questions?
Questions, comments? I think straightforward. I have a motion that bylaw 2023-88, being a bylaw to amend the 2023 municipal tax rates, be read in open council, signed and sealed. Moved by Deputy Mayor St. Pierre, seconded by Councillor Vino. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Treasurer Stewart. And moving into 7B, 2023-89, Workplace Violence Harassment Policy Amendment, CAO Mills. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through you. Key presentations tonight, I heard council ask, do we have a policy on this, or has the bylaw been updated on that? Just a point that we're looking at a number of bylaws and a number of policies, and the best way to update them on a regular basis is to have a number on the agenda or once a month on the agenda so that we make sure we keep them up to date. My observations too in the first number of months I've been here is that COVID took its toll on a number of things in terms of procedures or getting things up to date on a consistent basis, so we're looking at that. So one of them is the workplace violence and harassment policy. You'll see in front of you, if you've read through it, it's long overdue, 2010. And there are a number of things, so the key update to the policy are the forms at the back, and that it's a sensitive topic, and at times staff want to be able to do it in a discreet manner, which is extremely important. The other piece I would like to bring forward is that we're doing a number of things. We've talked about Team South Dundas and things we can do to make sure people are well and happy and free of violence and harassment in the workplace. We've done some training on accessibility with staff. We had the TRC day. AODA, which is the accessibility training, which service delivery. You might ask why that's important. Well, we want to make sure everyone feels welcome and supported, not only on staff, but when they come or getting service from us. And then Joint Health and Safety Committee training. There, we have one staff. We've had a lot of turnover there, as you know, in the past few years, and we do have one person who's trained on staff, and we're going to have 3 more staff trained with part 1 next week, and then get part 2 within the year. So the policy you have before you, the main change is adding the forms at the back. It's in draft, and long overdue after 13 years to update the policy.
Thank you, CAO Mills. Yeah, excellent to have the forms, and we make sure we train everybody on an annual basis on the policy, which we do. So certainly important. Any comments or questions on the updated policy? Seeing none, I have a motion that council accepts bylaw 2023-89, a bylaw to amend the workplace violence and harassment policy 3-10. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Vino. All in favor? Carried. Board and committees. So a couple that we can talk about. Morrisburg Waterfront Committee, Councillor Vino.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Broad. So we just met. That was last Wednesday. The open house was going on here for Potentia, I think. So a lot of that meeting was spent on with Director Jansen on budget for upcoming year. Kind of putting in what our budget requests are going to be for for 2024. One other notable part is that we're looking at bringing back or we do plan to bring back, an event that is, I don't know when the last time it happened. We used to do a Christmas tree burning down at the Morseburg Beach when I was a kid. And I believe it was the deputy mayor was on the fire department when that was all started. And it disappeared at some point over the years. So we're working with the fire service and so the fire service and the waterfront committee together are working to bring that back along with the Lions Club. So the plan is to have hot dogs and hot chocolate free to the public and the kids. When they come down, everybody will be able to drop their Christmas trees off after the Christmas holiday is over, and I think it'll be the weekend after New Year's. So if all goes well, that'll be coming back, and obviously everybody in the townships will be, or in the municipality, be invited. I think our shoreline planting was completed over the summer, which was a good task completed. Am I missing anything, Director Jansen, for that meeting? I think that was the bulk of it. Okay.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Vino. South Branch Community Fund, Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Mayor. So we received one application for the remainder of the funds. It was the Matilda Memorial Recreation Committee, and they came back to us looking for some additional funds. It's in the package for council to review for their building that they are trying to renovate to make a new community hall at Matilda Park. So the committee approved that. We're proposing it to council to approve, excuse me, and so they're looking for $57,000 to finish the remaining items on the list, and they're outlined and itemized, I believe, for council's review.
Very good. Yeah, so we had Shelley Spencer came from the committee earlier this summer and gave a delegation about the plans at the Matilda Hall, which was in desperate need of renovation. So nice that we used the funding from the windmills directly into that community fund. There was a couple more. Iroquois District Business Association, so Mills and I attended a meeting with that group. Just reviewed Apple Fest, some of the other great events, and then talked about their Christmas events with Meet the Santa and a night of shopping and their draws that they're all doing within the Iroquois business community. They continue to work on as they've raised money for the pavilion that they'll get to work on hopefully next year, and then a longer term project that they're working on is the sign at the highway. So those were some of the highlights of the meeting. Certainly the municipality has completed a bunch of the requests, like the electrical panel, so they're certainly pleased with that. That worked excellent during Apple Fest, as all the vendors had and the stage had the power to hook into, so that was very good. And then there was a Morrisburg BIA meeting. Clerk LeBrun, anything to add just on that meeting briefly?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Broad. I was able to attend the BIA meeting on the 7th. So some of the items that were discussed by the group were there were some concerns about the lighting in the plaza, specifically in the islands where the trees were that were pulled out. There was a timer that was off, so it looked like some of the lights were working and some weren't, but they've all been rectified. They also talked about garbage dumpsters so that the BIA members will have their own commercial bin, and so their garbage is picked up by request as opposed to piling it in front of the clock tower. Some of the other things that they discussed were some Christmas events. So they're planning a window decorating contest to bring where people can go in and vote for their favorite window display. I believe they're doing a turkey draw, and this meeting was really just kind of brainstorming ideas to bring a committee together to get some of the events, Christmas events, up and running and planned. That was I think the big highlights, I would say, of that meeting.
Perfect, thank you, Clerk LeBrun. Any other committees or groups that had a meeting? Just briefly, Deputy Mayor and myself attended a medical town hall in Long Sault last week. We had other members of the SD&G County Council, as well as Eric Duncan and several doctors and medical physicians, practitioner nurses, and just talking about CO Mills attended as well with us. Discuss just the future of doctor recruitment, how we can participate in the way they're funded, and all the different ways that the medical system work in it. And that's led by one of our residents, Dr. Crabtree, leads that group of Ontario Health team. So we had a meeting, and so there'll be more follow-ups and hopefully more engagement for us in future talks. Any other committee meetings that participated in? Okay. Just a reminder, we did have a public meeting, Potentia, for the batteries. We also have a second meeting, public meeting this Thursday night, 6 p.m. at the Matilda Hall with EDP. Make sure you get the acronym right. So that's this Thursday night, 6 o'clock, Matilda Hall, for a public meeting for anyone that wishes to attend. Moving to a consent agenda under 9A, the budgets to actuals up to October 31st for the municipality of South Dundas. Morrisburg Arena sewer lateral repair. The BIA minutes from the October meeting. County meeting update. E, resolution for the town of Plymouth, Wyoming. F, resolution for the town of Goderich on illegal car rally. G, resolution City of Cambridge on long-term care amendment. H, resolution Town of Wasaga illegal car rally. I, resolution municipality of North Perth catch and release. J, resolution for the municipality of North Perth re social and economic prosperity. K, resolution municipality of North Perth re long-term care amendment. I, resolution Town of Rainey water treatment training. M, resolution municipality of Wawa short-term rentals. And finally, N, a resolution for the Township of Mahar short-term rentals. And just a reminder for the team, anytime we want to pull those out and discuss a resolution or an item, we can pull those out and discuss them. Okay, moving to number 10, under discussion items, recommendations, South Branch Community Fund, second intake applications. Oh, sorry, I'm going to, before I move on, I have a motion that all the items under the consent agenda be adopted as presented. Councillor Ward, seconded by Councillor Smith. All in favor? Carried. Now we can move to 10A, discussion of recommendations, South Branch Community Fund. Councillor Ward, anything else to say? You just briefly talked about it.
I think I said everything.
You said everything in the application? Okay, so we have a motion that the Council Municipality of South Dundas approve the application as presented for the South Branch Community Fund, the second intake. Moved by Deputy Mayor St. Pierre, seconded by Councillor Vino. All in favor? Carried. Okay, so before we move to item 12, I'll just, which is the closed session. So the recording will end at the end of the final words. I just want to say for everyone in the municipality and for the council members and for the staff members that attended Remembrance Day and Remembrance Day activities over the last few weeks. We opened the Cenotaph in Williamsburg, and the Boy Scouts had a ceremony last Thursday. Iroquois Legion had an event last Sunday, which we attended and were part of, laid a wreath at the Cenotaph in Iroquois. And then on Remembrance Day, we were all involved in services throughout the municipality, Chrysler Farm, with the battlefield, and then Morrisburg, Legion, and Cenotaph, and then Matilda Hall and Cenotaph, where we all participated. And so to wrap up the Remembrance Day conversation, thanks to all of our soldiers, and we will always remember. So to end tonight, I'd like to thank staff and all our participants and guests tonight and all delegations, and thank you for everybody that worked on our agenda tonight. Until our next meeting on Monday, November 27th, good night.